Am I on? Why is it not full screen? Doesn't matter. Hi, everyone. I think I'm live. Am I live? She's looking to see. Yes, I am. So, welcome to the our live streaming adventure heading to the Shanley Hotel. Kind of a little bit funky thing here because we didn't really anticipate that we were going to have to stop for lunch. So I have this kind of streaming from 2 to 4, but we're still in the car. So we're going to be at the hotel at 3:24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it, and I will come back on live at around 3:30 when we arrive at the hotel. But basically, to kind of let you guys know what I'm doing. What do you turn it off? Sorry. So, what I wanted to do is really kind of promote and explain about my book, The Spirit Adventures, which I just published. Literally, it's been a month. December 3rd, I think it was technically officially out. And Spirit Adventures is my book about, obviously, my haunted locations that I go to, my interactions with spirits, my private cases. And I wanted to write the book about really, it kind of chronologues the beginning process of fully embracing my mediumship, being a medium. So, if you haven't read the book yet, I'll tell you all the different places that you can get it. But it goes through, the beginning of it is my childhood. I talk a little bit about, what it's like being a medium when I was a child and growing up. And really the beginning process of discovering really more in depth my mediumship abilities, which, growing up, I didn't really know the difference of what's a psychic, what's the medium. Somebody asked me if I was a medium. Even in my 20s, I wouldn't have said, "Oh yeah, that's what I am." It really wasn't until I went to this hotel. So the Shanley Hotel is very dear to me, and that is the first chapter of my book. In every series of my book, every book from now on will have always the first chapter being about the Shanley Hotel, because it really tells you everything about how this all began for me. What's insane to think of, and I've got my daughter Nicole with me. I feel bad because I can't turn, I've got my camera where I can't fit her in here. But there she is. What's really insane, doing the math, 12 years ago was when I had my experience with Marguerite. I came to the hotel to write a story. I had a magazine called the Memoir magazine, and that was designed to really kind of come out with my spirituality and the interest in paranormal. And I had this magazine. It was a digital, it's online, and I wanted to go to a haunted hotel. And this really is the whole story. This particular hotel, and I explained that in my chapter, was the first place that I went. And my experience here really, I've said this many times, it blew the dust off the shelf for me as far as mediumship. I had an extremely profound experience here. I had a spirit that basically attached herself to me, came home with me, followed me home. And for the longest time, I kept telling people, when I was at events and stuff, I would tell people, "Oh yeah, this woman Marguerite was with me for 4 months maybe." And when I really sat down and writing, realized that she was with me for more 7 to 8 months, because I came to the hotel in April, and I wrote about the hotel in May, in my May issue. And she was still with me at Thanksgiving when I went to my mother's who at the time lived in Pennsylvania. She was still with me. So it was a long time that I had this interaction with this woman. So basically, the book is about my interactions and my stories. And what I wanted to do is bring you to some of these locations. So I don't actually say I remember if I think I've got five or six stories that are featured in the book. And my goal is to bring you to these locations. So today we're going to the Shanley Hotel. It's in Napanoch, New York. It's about a 4-hour drive from New Hampshire. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, which you will see. It's an amazing hotel. It's extremely haunted and active. And I wanted to kind of bring you on that journey, show you the hotel, walk through the hotel. For those of you that have read the book already, I'll show you where my connection with Marguerite happened, and just kind of introduce you to it. That was this whole purpose. The other stories that I have in the book, like I am planning on my next live, will be bringing you to the Silver Fountain Inn in Dover, New Hampshire. And I'm also going to bring you to the East Kingston, New Hampshire, the private farm that I've investigated several times. That's going to be in there. So that was my goal of doing these live streaming. Now this evening, from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, Nicole and I are going to be doing a live investigation for my Patreon subscribers. So you do have to be a Patreon subscriber in order to be a part of that live streaming. And that's where we're going to actually investigate the hotel. And it's going to be live, so you're going to be there with me. And we're going to talk to the spirits and show you how I communicate with them and what we do. We'll be using flashlights and dowsing rods, and I've got a cool SLS camera, the Kinect, which will show the spirits in a stick figure. And I've got a really awesome video. I'm trying to think. I don't know I think it's on my YouTube. Pay attention here. You can find it on my Facebook. I've shared it quite often. Pretty sure it's on my YouTube, which is under Karen Tatro Spirit Medium. And it shows at the Shanley Hotel, during one of my investigations there's a spirit of a woman, I believe her name is Francine, who a group of us in the room were communicating with her. And she was talking to us about, I believe she was playing the violin, and she was a musical teacher. And we have her on the SLS, which it shows her in a stick figure. And Katie, which I can't see the chat, so I can't tell who's logging on here because I'm driving, but Katie had stood in the center of the room just under this spirit, and she said, "What the heck, I'm going to put my hand up and let's see if she will touch my hand." And we asked her to reach down and touch Katie's hand. And you will see in that video her hand coming down and doing just that. And then at one point, she comes down quite a bit, like she's trying to actually hug Katie more. And when this is happening, Katie, who is also a medium, could really feel, she felt like a lot of electricity in her body, and she could really feel this spirit touching her. It was pretty profound. And then she went on to, we asked her if she could move the chandelier. And then you'll see the chandelier start to swing just. Am I staying straight? What? Yes. You can see the chandelier start to swing just a little bit. So it's a pretty cool video. So we'll be using, different gadgets. So the reason of my Patreon, because a lot of people, it's a totally new thing. I'm sure a lot of people really are not very familiar with it. It's a platform for people to feature themselves, the work that they do, in a subscription-based clientele. So my Patreon is really designed to help fund the cost of me traveling for private cases. When I take on a private case, I don't charge the client for coming and helping them with paranormal activities. So it can be expensive to drive there. Sometimes I'd have to stay, in a hotel, and many times, like, an average case will take generally around 2 or 3 visits, depending on the intensity and the issues that are occurring. But generally, it'll take 2 to 3 visits. So I created my Patreon channel as a way to help fund that. So you really are supporting me personally in this work, and you're supporting my ability to help people in these locations. So that's what Patreon is. It's got different tiers. It starts at $5. I have a spiritual tier that's $5. It goes into the paranormal, which is $10. And I share a lot on there. Last year, I really couldn't do very much with it, but this year I've already started a lot. I do a weekly rune reading, card of the week for everyone. I've started doing a weekly meditation just for like 5-10 minutes, kind of, inspirational insight. I do motivational walks. I have my whole awakenings course that's on my Patreon. That's 8 videos, meeting your spirit guides. I have some investigations of kind of like episodes that are on there. And I'm now featuring the live streaming investigations that you can be a part of. So there's really a lot on there. I just posted too my near-death experience discussions, which will be live discussions with people who have survived death, which is fascinating to me. And that will also be streaming live for my Patreon subscribers. Generally, it's going to be about once a month. I have my first one, which is two beautiful women that are going to talk about their experience with drowning and coming back to life and life after that. So my Patreon has a lot of things on it that I do. So that is what that is. But for right now, this is open to the public. It's on Facebook, and I want to show you the Shanley Hotel. My book is, you can buy the book through me, an autographed copy. I now have the book in Edmund's Hardware Store in Antrim, which is my hometown. And I have the book in Peterborough in the Toadstool Bookstore. I also have a couple places in Concord. Root Up, which is a metaphysical shop on Pleasant Street. She's stocking my book and my rune cards. And the Gibson's Bookstore in Concord, which is on Main Street, is also going to be having my rune cards and the book. The Bull Moose in Keene and Portsmouth is going to be stocking them. That's probably going to still be a couple weeks away. So there's a lot of places that you can purchase the book. It's a great read. A lot of people have really enjoyed it. And it tells you everything about me. Everything about me. So 12 years ago, Nicole, 12 years ago, I was coming to this hotel, and you will see how it's this big, massive white building that has an incredible amount of history. It's a fascinating place. There are a lot of spirits here. The owner, Sal, which I'll talk about when we get to the hotel, really wonderful man. He passed away, this is like crazy to think this, but a few years ago. Honestly, I think it's been three years now. But Sal was a really, really neat gentleman, and I write about him in the first chapter. But I had no idea what was going to transpire during um, this weekend at the Shanley. I was just supposed to be writing a story about what it's like to stay in a haunted hotel. I had absolutely zero idea that it would be the most profound experience. Um, Honestly, to this day, it is. I've had a couple others for different reasons that are pretty profound, but this one really blew my mind away. Um, I until that point, and I'm not going to tell you all about it because I want you to read the book. But until that point, I wasn't talking to spirits. I wasn't engaging in that. If anything, I was trying to shut that down. And I didn't really want any part of it. I had a lot of experiences growing up. I had a lot of experiences prior to going there, but this experience with this woman, it was profound. It was profound. And I will explain it a little bit because I want you to tune in and when we actually get there, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how that changed my life. And really everything from that point 12 years ago is with it now. And my children both were a part of back then. You guys, you remember, drag Nicole into this, even though she's like, I'm not on the screen. I don't want to be on the screen. But when I came home from the hotel, both Nicole and Garrett, and I didn't really write about this in the book, so that's why I'm talking about it now. But both of them sensed that there was, something going on in our house. Now, I didn't come home and say, oh, yeah, by the way, I've got this woman with me that's kind of hanging out. It didn't kind of really happen that way. They knew that I was going. My husband, it was very supportive. Everybody, my family was very supportive of this. But also didn't really know, what, okay, mom's going to a haunted hotel and she's going to write a story about it. This actually changed, really, when you think about it, this changed their lives as well, because both of my kids have abilities too. And if anything, that was an eye-opener through me, because they both have been to the hotel since. So I come home from the hotel, and I don't remember if I told you or if I would have told you before Garrett, because this is like 12 years ago.
Yeah,
so Garrett, so you were in middle school. So Garrett was like,
well, 12
oh my
ago,
God.
He was 8.
He was 8 years old. That's right. So he was 8 years old. And do you remember? I remember you saying one time to me, Mom, I think that lady that's with you, I think she came to school with me. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I think I saw her at school. Like, I just felt like that. I don't know.
She could get you in here.
I don't know.
You don't need to be in. All right, well, you could hear her. I remember you saying to me that you thought that she came to school with you.
Yeah.
That you felt her there.
Yeah.
So we'll tell you when we're there, but Nicole, when I first brought her to the hotel, so obviously I came home, and then after this experience, I wanted to bring other people to this hotel and started to do events where I would, book the hotel, have people come with me, because I really felt like I want people to experience this too, especially if you have abilities. And Nicole will share when we're there, because she had a really interesting experience with dreaming about the hotel before she ever went there. and her dreaming. Would you want to tell them now, or do you want to tell them there?
I don't know. Tell them there.
Tell them there.
Then
We'll show you where it is. But she dreamed of some specific things about the hotel, that there were no pictures of the hotel. I mean, she could see the outside of it, but what she dreamed of, there was no way that she would have had that insight. And when we were there, she got the validation of not only physically seeing it, but Sal kind of saying, "Come over here, Nicole, let me show you something." So we'll share that when we actually get there, and she can tell that story, and she can show you what happened to her. But this woman was, and I know this probably sounds really crazy for you, for the ones that have not read the book. Like, I don't know, is anybody even know you're not on there?
I can't see who's watching.
I can't see who's watching.
There's been people on consistent.
Huh?
There's been people on consistent.
Because I can't see you guys because I'm in the car. We'll definitely be able to see when we're there. But I don't know how many of you watching this have read the book already. Because I really don't want to give, it's not that I'm going to be giving things away, but just when you read it and you read the story, you'll understand what I'm talking about. For those of you that haven't, this probably sounds like, what the hell is she talking about? Some lady. But yeah, I had this spirit of Marguerite literally come home with me from this hotel, and she was with me for the better part of 7 to 8 months. And I had to learn how to, first of all, understand my mediumship abilities. I had to understand, I'm hearing this woman talking to me, I'm seeing this woman, I'm feeling this lady, and that's when I really had no choice. I really didn't have a choice to try. I couldn't get away from it. I was like, I had to deal with it. I had to focus on what I got to do. I got to listen to this woman. I got to listen to and I tell her whole story of what she told me in the book. But she made my house. So she had a very strong energy about her. She was very attached. And I explained this, of how there were many times that when you are around a spirit, especially if they're really strong and they're very earth kind of bound, it's very common to get headaches. I mean, to have this dull, nagging headache. And she, whenever she was around, Nicole would complain about, feeling like she would have a headache. Garrett would start to complain about it. And she made things happen in our house. Sometimes the lights would flash. There'd be little quirky things. And both of my kids really had this knowing of this lady being here. And in many ways, both of you guys became actually concerned for her. And I remember that. I remember Garrett kind of being like, well, what are you going to do, Mom? Like, where, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I tell the whole thing. I don't talk a lot about the history of the hotel. Basically, my stories are about the spirit. And yes, I give some history. The Shanley has a lot of spirits there. So, I could have written a book just about the Shanley Hotel. I've interacted with many different spirits here, and I might include different spirit stories from the Shanley in other books. But I didn't focus a lot on the history, and it has a huge amount. I mean, this is a grand hotel that was really entertained the very wealthy people from New York and in Boston. It's a fascinating place. You will see.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt stayed there. She was actually fairly good friends with Mrs. Shanley. And I remember one occasion that we did actually get to talk to Eleanor Roosevelt. She came in. It was a group session, and she came. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if Sal was. Yeah, Sal was alive when that happened, and he recognized her voice, and knew some of the things to ask her. She came up on the voice recorder. Um, the hotel has a lot of there's been a lot of deaths there. That isn't the only reason why it's haunted, and it has a lot of energy that kind of comes and goes. But the majority of the people that are there have some sort of connection to this hotel. There's a reason that they're there, and they're very interactive. So that's why I've held a lot of different events here, because it's a very interactive place. You can go tons of places and have spirits around you and have absolutely no idea. If you're not a sensitive person, you may have no clue that a place is haunted, which is very similar to the Silver Fountain Inn, which is one of the stories. I think that I'm going to have booked in either 2 or 3 weeks, but the Silver Fountain Inn is a location that it's right across the street from where Nicole lives, like literally across the street. And she kind of cool place. And would you think that it was haunted? Not necessarily. We went in and had tea. It's not a place that you would go in and there's a lot of spirit activity there, but it definitely is haunted, and that has its own cool story also. So there doesn't always have to be deaths or tragedies for a place to be haunted. Sometimes it can just be spirits that are personally connected to that location, whether they own it or spend a great deal of time there. So there's a lot of different energies. Join us by Crowdcast, which is what this is streaming through. We didn't, because we didn't anticipate that we were going to have to stop and have lunch. So I didn't set up a second, streaming. So I can't really like pause this and hold it until 3:30. What I'm going to do is basically this one will end, and then I'll just come back on Facebook Live. I don't know if the quality of the filming will be different or not, but I'll kind of shoot from there. So we will be back at our arrival is 3:22, so I'm going to say at 3:30. We will be pulling into the parking lot of the Shanley Hotel. I hope that you tune in again, and I'm going to walk you around and let you meet the hotel. So we will see you then. Thanks, guys.